Welcome back to my channel, Morgan Sankofa. It's been 5 days since I posted something, 5 or 6 days, and I wanted to start with another poetry reading, a fresh book. Today I wanted to start with The Weary Blues by Langston Hughes. I got the book from the library, and there's nothing like just getting the fresh book. You know, all of this is available online, but for me, I like the pages, I like the book. So I wanted to read some of the foreword and about the book before I started, and then kind of go on a ramble about what I think, and then get about 3 poems in today, make this video a little bit longer. So, you know, we can get to know each other and get to know this poet, of course, Langston Hughes, a little bit more. So I want to start here in the foreword. If Hughes' second book would take this as a kind of gospel, using the form of the blues to represent washwomen, porters, rounders, fools, and the heroes, creating one of the best and most influential works of the 20th century in the process, then The Weary Blues represents the start of this newfound and profound blues and jazz aesthetic. Hughes was in fact the first to write poetry in the blues form. He was the first to realize the blues are plural, to see in their complicated irony and earthy tone the potential to present a folk feeling, both tragic and comic, when uniquely African American, which is to say American. The blues made romance modern, modernism borrowed from the blues a new way of speaking what it saw. Hughes made the blues his own and ours too. So, as I was reading, because I've been reading and studying what in this book, is that Hughes seemed like kind of a young kid. He was 22 when he went overseas, and I get a sense that he just was being an adventurer at the time. He was young and he was just trying to figure out his life. And being like 22 years old now, it's like, wow, you know, he was already out traveling with $7 in his pocket, literally had no money, and it just makes me think, like, as a writer too, where I could be going with my art, Yeah, because I do consider writing as an art, and literally just took a boat. You know, when you're by yourself, you can explore and take those chances and really figure out, like, hey, like, what am I good at? Or, hey, this is my time for studying and for practicing, and to go deeper in when you have time, your craft, and to see how you can influence other people and kind of emerge into who you want to be. So I kind of get that from him, that he was an observer and he studied and he kind of let himself seep into the jazz culture. And I really get that. I really get that from him. And so I wanted to read 3 poems that I marked off in here that resonated with me. This one is called Aunt Sue's Stories. So I'll read the poem and then I'll kind of explain how it makes me feel. Aunt Sue's Stories. Aunt Sue has a head full of stories. Aunt Sue has a whole heart full of stories. Summer nights on the front porch, Aunt Sue cuddles a brown-faced child to her bosom and tells him stories. Black slaves working in the hot sun, and black slaves walking in the dewy night, and black slaves singing sorrow songs on the banks of a mighty river, mingle themselves softly in the flow of Aunt Sue's voice, mingle themselves softly in the dark shadows that cross and recross Aunt Sue's stories. And the dark-faced child, listening, knows that Aunt Sue's stories are real stories. He knows that Aunt Sue never got her stories out of any book at all, but they came right out of her own life. And that dark-faced child is quiet of a summer night, listening to Aunt Sue's stories. So this brings up for me is about elders and about the generation that came before us. And being Black and just thinking about my own grandparents and just trying to think about what they've given to me and how I can continue to keep their generation and their people and their stories and their memories in my head. You know, Aunt Sue reminds me of like someone that could be an elder to me, and how they do have stories and they always have stories of their lives and of their past. And it's like, what am I going to do with that knowledge? You know? And it's not only to be there for elders, but it's what are you listening to? You know, are you listening? And then what are you doing with that knowledge that you get from them? So it's kind of like I'm always going through that back and forth in my head. So that's kind of what I think when I hear about Aunt Sue's stories. The next one is just titled Poem. I really like this one. It's short. It says, "The night is beautiful, so the faces of my people. The stars are beautiful, so the eyes of my people. Beautiful also is the sun. Beautiful also are the souls of my people." And this one I like is because Langston obviously is talking about the Black community when he's writing about this, but that's not said like once in the poem. And I like that it's kind of like hidden, but it's obvious. I like that he compares us to beauty and to light, because I know that that's true. You know, it's kind of like an effortless feeling, an effortless quality about a lot of Black people that as soon as you come into a room, we have the ability to change it. And I feel like people don't know that they have the ability to change the energy. As soon as they come into a room, everyone has a presence, and you kind of have to be able to take up your space. And that's what I've been learning for the past few years, is that it's okay to take up your space in places. The last poem I want to read is one that I found last year. It's kind of a love poem, but it's also just another uplifting poem toward Blackness and to people. Poem to the Black Beloved. Ah, my Black one, thou art not beautiful, yet thou hast a loveliness surpassing beauty. Oh, my Black one, thou art not good, yet thou hast a purity surpassing goodness. Ah, my Black one, thou art now luminous, yet an altar of jewels, an altar of shimmering jewels, would pale in the light of thy darkness, pale in the night of thy nightness. So, I would give this poetry book so far a pretty high rating. A lot of it describes the scene that he was in and the people, like everyday people that he interacted with in Harlem during his time. He has a lot of dark references, of course, and brokenness references, but there's also a musical quality to everything that he writes. So there's still movement involved in his writing, and his poems are very, very short, but they pack a punch. Okay, well, in that case, I'm going to let everyone go and enjoy life. I am hoping to be here again tomorrow for Personal Poems Monday, where I'll be reading some of my own work. On that note, have a good Sunday night. Okay.